the messaging very clearly, and I'm sure they're able to separate the wheat from the chaff. They will realize nothing justifies the bombing of Kanishk, that Air India aircraft, the attempt to bomb the other aircraft, the bomb that exploded at the Narita airport, and the fact that that mindset and that terrorism continues in Canada even today. But the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau remains in the eye of a storm, also because of the standing ovation in the Canadian Parliament to Yaroslav Hunka, a 98-year-old Ukrainian war veteran seen as part of Nazi Germany collaborator formation in the Second World War. Those forces stand accused of killing Jewish and Polish civilians in the Second World War, and there was anger and outrage in Israel, in Poland, and in Russia, with Justin Trudeau being accused of backing a Nazi war veteran. Though the House Speaker, Anthony Rota, apologized, Trudeau remains in the line of fire.
Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War.
Such a sloppy attitude towards memory, and memory must be preserved in relation to the Nazis. No matter how old they are, there is no statute of limitations for these crimes. We know that many Western countries, including Canada, have raised a young generation that does not know who fought whom and what happened during the Second World War. This is fraught with the fact that fascism will manifest itself here and there, and we now see how it is trying to find its feet in the center of Europe, in Ukraine.
So Justin Trudeau government in Canada may not act, but the Narendra Modi government in India has cracked the whip on Khalistanis. Their overseas citizens of India, OCI cards, they're being cancelled. Passports of Khalistanis involved in vandalizing the Indian missions, they will be cancelled. Now, the National Investigation Agency, it's actually released a list of 19 Khalistanis fugitive from law living abroad in countries like the United States, like the United Kingdom, Canada, Dubai, and some even in Pakistan. We get you more in this report.
A bogus, non-binding exercise aimed at diasporic Sikhs. A so-called Punjab referendum asking participants whether they want the Sikh majority Punjab in India to become a separate Khalistan. The man behind the sham project, Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, a lawyer of joint US and Canadian citizenship who seeks for justice communities proscribed by India. The 56-year-old supporter of Khalistan, born in village Khankot of Amritsar and now based in the United States. He was declared a terrorist by India in 2020. Pannu named in more than a dozen criminal cases, some of them linked to terror and other violent activities. The NIA has intensified its crackdown on Pannu. Over the weekend, 2 of his properties were confiscated in Amritsar and Chandigarh, and so was his agricultural land in his ancestral village of Khankot in Amritsar district. Slain Khalistani supporter and designated terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar was one of advocates of Pannu's sham Khalistan referendum in Canada. As per sources, overseas citizenship cards and passports of Khalistani supporters involved in vandalizing Indian consulates abroad will now be cancelled by India. Indian agencies sharing their details with airports to keep a tab on their movements. The NIA has also finalized a list of 19 Khalistani fugitives who are part of anti-India plots, most of them living in the US, the UK, Canada, Dubai and Pakistan. The action comes amidst diplomatic escalation between India and Canada over Nijjar's murder. With Shreya Chatterjee, Bureau Report, India Today.
All is not well for Justin Trudeau and it continues to go downhill. It's been a week of embarrassment for the Canadian Prime Minister, from his plummeting popularity ratings to the global image of Canada, and The fact that Canada is now being seen as a safe haven for terrorists and extremists and criminal gangs. The downfall actually began soon after Trudeau's explosive and false allegations of the potential link of Indian agents in the killing of a Khalistani terrorist, Nijjar. Watch India Today get you more in this report.
It hasn't been a good week for the Canadian Prime Minister. It's been 6 days since he dropped the diplomatic equivalent of a nuclear bomb on India-Canada relations with this.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
Since then, it's been an uninterrupted downslide for Justin Trudeau. Politically ridiculed, diplomatically criticized, and isolated even by his closest friends. As we mark a week since Trudeau's quest to paint India the assassin of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Nijjar, let's see how it's going for the Canadian Prime Minister. For starters, India hit back instantly with a visa blockade, stunning Team Trudeau. Canada's conspicuous lack of reciprocal action not only showing weakness, but the country's helpless dependence on Indian labour and workers in Canadian industry. Second, Trudeau's attempts to rally the Five Eyes intelligence alliance, the world's so-called Anglosphere. But each of those major powers, the US, UK and Australia, provided only token words of support, nothing near the kind of backing Trudeau was hoping for. In this game of optics, it was clear Prime Minister Trudeau was all alone in his mission against India. The third big embarrassment for Trudeau, the claim from one of his own allies that his allegations against India are based on open source information available on the internet.
The only briefings that I've been able to receive from CSIS are what are called open information briefings or open source briefings, which is information that's available to the public doing an internet search, which I find frustrating.
The fourth big blow to Trudeau were his plummeting popularity ratings, with his political opposition using the moment to mount a ferocious attack on him.
I think we need to see more facts. The Prime Minister hasn't provided any facts. He provided a statement, and I will just emphasize that he didn't tell me any more in private than he told Canadians in public, so we want to see more information.
Fifth, and probably most embarrassingly, Trudeau's closest government ally, the Khalistan sympathetic Jagmeet Singh, virtually threw the Canadian Prime Minister under the bus, putting out this tweet, where he cunningly fitted in a criticism of his close friend Trudeau in an unrelated issue, hoping to offset the heat on himself. Sixth, with the global glare now fixed on his accommodation of terrorists on his soil, a shamefaced Trudeau had to order the offensive posters to be pulled down from the Surrey Gurudwara. Posters honouring terrorist Nijjar and calling for the killing of Indian diplomats. Seventh, with India stepping up the pressure and seizing Indian properties of 19 Khalistani terrorists, including several based in Canada, Trudeau will likely begin to face unbearable heat from the very section he's been trying to milk for politics. And finally, with a list of Canadian Khalistanis whose PIO and OCI green cards are all set to be cancelled, ending their chances of easy travel to India, Trudeau will face the music from extremists who took their India linkages for granted thus far. As you can see, it hasn't been Trudeau's week. Bureau Report, India Today.